teaser. I should not have said I was ready to go live, but here we are. Welcome to another week on Girls Run These Worlds of Therosian Odyssey, Tides of Volition, Season 2 of our Therosian Odyssey saga. Welcome back. Last week was a lot. We had a lot, but we're back for another episode. And maybe this one will be a little bit more chilled out. I don't know. It really depends on what everyone wants to do and how much my players enjoy torturing me. We will briefly go round, as we always do, and kind of introduce ourselves, say what character we're going to be playing. Really excited to be back this week. So how should we start? Let's start with Lindsay. Feeling chaotic today.
I mean, you started with me I think last week or maybe the week before, but it's fine. It's fine. Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay. I'm playing your Kenku Ranger Eva, who in the last session has made some very interesting friends and is now very intrigued in a new lost secret civilization at the bottom of the ocean. So she might, go for a swim sometime. We'll see how that goes.
Great, yeah, great. Sounds like a great idea. All right, let's move on to Joan.
I literally muted myself 1.5 seconds before he said my name.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I am tired. Also, Onyx. And I did a cool thing where I dove off of a boat last time. That was pretty neat. And this time I'm gonna do buff girl fight practice, I think.
Buff girl fight practice.
Cool.
The favorite kind of practice.
If you can't tell, I'm a night owl. I like sleeping during the day. Yeah.
We're so sorry.
This is the only table I would wake up for.
All right. Who else is it really early for right now? It's early for Jen.
This feels like retaliation. Hi friends, I am Jen. I will be playing your friendly local half-elven wizard Estrella, who is not that stupid. She's doing her best. She has limited escape routes. That's all I'm saying.
Where's this come from? This hostility? No one is calling you stupid.
You're right, because my intelligence is a 20, but my wisdom might as well be a 3.
I was gonna say there's a difference between wisdom and intelligence.
There is. There's literally stats for it.
I don't deserve this. This is a personal attack, and I'll be leaving this game immediately. And by that, I mean I'm never leaving because you're stuck with me now.
Aw. It's also really early for Lulu right now, so let's wake Lulu up.
Yes, it is very early, but I second Joan. This is probably the only reason I would get up this early on a Sunday morning. And I play the party's Triton cleric, Callista, who has decided that she needs to stick really close to Estrella in any fight, since she decides to tank most of the encounters they've had. Although she would say it's because she didn't have a choice and couldn't get out of the way. But Callista, I think, she thought going into this that she'd have to stay closer to Kalyuka, being the party's barbarian, that she would be taking most of the damage, but it does seem to be Estrella, so.
Where did you want me to go? Where did you want? I would like to request that the audience look right there at the map and tell me where else I could have gone from the edge of the fucking boat.
Okay. I think in terms of this feedback, I feel like Estrella, there were some choices during the Sahuagin fight that almost got Estrella killed. This time, however, I do feel like it could have benefited, if things had gone a different way, it could have benefited Kalyuka better being nearby. Who was ready to take on 50 to 100 just single-handedly. no backup, no support, no calling out to her friends, just like, don't worry, I've got this. So I think what Callista is very quickly learning is that she's going to have her eyes everywhere at once. With that being said, speaking of Kaliuka, it's quite late for Kumi right now because we have so many different time zones. Kumi.
Hello, I'm Kumi, and like specified, I play Kaliuka, the Barbarian. And there was a fascinating episode last time because I was ready to rage. I didn't care how many were there. I was just like, no, Eva's down in the sea. It was like Onyx, who's like probably the only other person who could take up like melee combat with me, is down in the sea as well. And I had like the confidence that Callista was looking after me from behind, and Astrea would join me in front if needed. And Kaliuka.
Wait, in front? In front?
It just happens towards the end.
Jen, don't pretend you haven't set that expectation.
I swear to God. I swear to fucking God. All of you.
Don't pretend you haven't set that. This is a party dynamic now. Everyone thinks you're front and center. All right. So as I mentioned, and you can probably gather from the vibes today, last session was probably our most epically cinematic session that we've ever had. We began it as like a sort of a cliffhanger after our season 2 mid-season finale, and it was in chaos and confusion and peril as Eva, one of our party members, sort of dived into the sea. It's like, that's me. Having succumbed to the strangely enthralling song of these aquatic humanoids. And as a party, you really quickly sprang into action, which I loved. Astrea and Callista immediately running to go and wake up Chorus. And because you kind of recognized that these were probably friends of his. Onyx wasted no time just diving into the waters to rescue her best friend. Like, no, not my Eva, I'm going after there. No one can take her. Eva, for her part, was just like, no, you ain't taking me back up there in every single way possible. But we learned a lot about Eva's powers last session and how they can be used against her. And even me, I didn't do this on purpose. Half the things that Lindsay came up with, like, oh, by the way, no, she can't see me. And I was like, oh yeah. And then Kaliuka showed that she was literally prepared to fight against some very stacked odds, to protect those that mattered to her, which was very sweet and slightly foolish. But we had an unexpected hero, everyone. And it came in. Those of you that know me, a spider being the hero of my story? No, never. But here, Julio, the spider, came through for everyone, and Shiny Starman got some aid from Shiny Starman, aka our good friend Crewfix. We kind of ended. Eva was rescued. The rest of the crew were rescued. Our prisoner, as I think. The prince of this lost civilization was reunited with his people and left not before having a very emotional goodbye with his new best friend, with Bay. And he dove into the sea. And we kind of ended with probably one of the most annoying gulls that Eva is somehow striking up a very unlikely friendship with, coming down to see her, check up on her, make sure she's okay, and most importantly ask if she has any food. The fact that you just have that goal to hand just gets me every time. But check up that she's okay, like, how are you doing? And accidentally blurted out that our intrepid heroines are being followed and watched by a magical bird of some kind that resembles a rather colourful tropical parrot, sort of. Definitely not a bird that exists, or at least to Eva's knowledge. And we kind of pick up from this moment where Eva now has this information. And I will give the floor to my players.
I'd like the ceiling instead, please.
I guess to start with, I'd probably go to both Eva and Onyx because they were submerged for the last 2 minutes. Wow, 2 minutes. But yeah, they're like, Eva, are you okay? And while doing this, I'm going to do my best stealth to just like take little Julio and put him near her, maybe like her down feathers or somewhere.
I would probably put, are you trying to do that quietly without anyone noticing?
Yeah.
I would probably put that under sleight of hand. And I want you to make a sleight of hand check. And are you doing it near, or are you like giving it to Eva, but like so no one notices?
No, I'm going to give it a hug. So it just, she doesn't
Okay,
realize.
so you don't even want Eva to know that you're giving Julio back.
No, I'm going to respect our little spider friend's words and, you know, the promise I made to him. So I'm not going to talk to her about shiny star man yet.
Sleight of hand check for me.
So what as Kalika is walking up to Eva and asking if she's okay, she's kind of gonna look down at herself, who's like dripping, sopping wet. She's gonna look at herself, look up, and she's gonna like do like a dog shake, but bird version. So water is gonna go flying everywhere. Anyone within like a radius of her is going to get splashed with water, and then she's gonna be left as a big fluffy chicken afterwards.
That's so cute. And like Luca is gonna laugh really loudly and give her like a hug. Water doesn't matter to her. I rolled 11 on my sleight of hand.
An 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, needless to say, Eva, you definitely notice that she's kind of like she's kind of approaching you, and as you kind of shake yourself off, you notice that she doesn't just like try to deflect from the incoming spray of water. She like puts her hand over something in her hand to deflect, and that makes you pay attention. So obviously she then makes a big show of trying not to let anyone notice, and you can very clearly see for a good few seconds before she covers it up again, Julio is just sort of curled up in her hand. Anyone else who is in the vicinity and is watching this interaction?
Is this before or after the goal conversation?
So this is just after the goal conversation. So I think it's just the moment where Eva has kind of caught Onyx's eye, and then all she said is fuck, like that, but she hasn't kind of she hasn't explained but it's just this moment of like, well, something is wrong, and then Kalyuka has come barreling in and is trying very hard to give this spider back, but in a really stealthy, sneaky way. And
we're all just minding our own business, and then Kalyuka's just like, Eva, come here.
Yes. Now that we have all settled, it's so nice to see that you're of sound mind again. And Onyx, what you did was incredibly brave. How did you know that you would survive underwater? What did it look like under there?
She just holds up her hands. I got these gloves on.
Oh. Okay.
The gloves are really they're really cool looking, by the way. There's like there's kind of some like around the cuff there's some intricate like threading that almost it kind of on one side it's just these kind of like figures kind of swimming through the sea, and on the other side it looks like people kind of climbing up a cliff face, but they're kind of like fingerless gloves. I don't know. I try to channel my inner Onyx. What would Onyx want? It's entirely up to you what they look like.
No, that sounds good to me.
Amazing.
There might be a little bit of webbing in between where the
I wonder if like the webbing grows when you like hit the water.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, like so there's just this like tiny little bit of webbing in between each of the fingers, and there's also these kind of like rough bumps that almost look like sort of studs, and when you try to climb things they kind of also grow out and become like almost like little pittons that allow you to kind of climb.
I love these like little magically adaptive garments. A+.
Magically adaptive garments.
That's such a phrase. But Eva, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Eva's gonna give Kalyuka like a little bit of a hug back to try and also like hide the handover of Julio.
Yeah.
I just whisper in her ear, like, I found him all alone when you had jumped off, and I wanted to make sure that he's safe.
Thank you.
Is that the spider?
It's Julio.
That's
You remember?
Eva will stop and look over at Estrella, having just realized she's noticed all of that.
Oh yeah, because you're all looking
Rolled like garbage.
So you see, so all of you that are looking over as you're kind of coming over, I mean, does anyone have a passive perception below 11? Just
don't think so.
No.
Terrible.
Okay,
Terrible at being
you
sneaky.
all see as they're like trying to do this really like big hug, and then like you goes to like, give the spider, and then like almost drops it, and then like, puts it very clearly on Eva's outstretched hand, and then it's just like wink, whispers something.
I'm like, is that spider purple? Is that a Durkle spider?
Eva will kind of like pretend to like hide it for a minute, being like, no, you didn't, you saw nothing. And when she gets called out on it, she'll like open up her hands and show everyone her little Julio.
I just want to point out that my passive perception isn't below 11.
Is it 11?
It is 11. That's right.
Estrella was kind of like leaned down to inspect it, and like at first you think she finds it cute, which like she does, but also like with the fucking passive insight that y'all have, she's just fascinated by this by the Durkling. She's just like, Joe, and your mic just got real blurry.
I was just mumbling some shit talking.
Amazing. Yeah, Estrella's kind of like, oh my goodness, how did this happen?
He just followed me, and now he's my friend.
Well, hi, Spider.
He's, I think he's unconscious right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And she's gonna poke
he's
him a little
definitely
bit.
not responsive. He's like curled up. When you poke him, he does like twitch, like he does. Oh god, this is making set my teeth on it. He does twitch. But this is how I'm gonna get over my fear. This is how I'm gonna do it. I have to look at every spider now and be like, it's just Julio. It's just Julio. As tarantula is waking its way up my wall.
What is this, Australia?
But it seems like it kind of is naturally going into this like curled up state. It's not like the curled up like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like curling itself up into a little ball.
Yeah.
but kind of twitching when prodded. So what was that? That was not a spider, was it? Get out!
Like you called.
Yeah, Julio's just like, hello. Oh my god! Let me tell you that if a spider actually does ever appear in this room while I'm on this stream, I will scream the place down. I will like.
Look, once that happens, the whole house gotta go.
Kalika is also gonna bend down to her slightly annoyed bunny who's just thumping on the floor in the sort of like, you idiot.
Yeah, Caillou is fully mad at you, and it's like that kind of cute little like sulky, it's not mad at you like I'm never interacting with you again, but she's got her front paws pressed together. She's waiting for an apology, and she's got her back foot is just twitching, like that, and she's just looking at you like with the most sassy expression of just like, what the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck was that you just did?
Sorry, but did you see how cool it was? And Callista has my back. Did you see how cool the combo was? Like, Callista did bam, and then I jumped off the boat, and then I didn't sink. It was amazing. And I tried to distract Caillou's attention. Callista, it was so cool.
What were you going to do? There were like 50 of them, and only number 39 took damage.
Number it was.
I remember the randomest shit. It's very
I should have made it 100 so I could have made it 69. Damn, what a missed opportunity.
Next time.
Next time.
Okay. Like, Callista promised me that I'd be safe, and I trust her completely. Oh god, Kalika is just so stupid.
The camera cuts to Callista sinking to her knees under the weight of expectation and pressure.
But I think she also, she would follow Kalyuka and would have been right there behind her, trying to keep her alive. I don't know that she has enough magical energy to do that many cure wounds, but she would have tried.
Is everybody okay? That was quite an experience.
Fluffy Chicken Eva will nod her head and tuck Julio into her feathers.
I feel a little bit like a kebab, but
what's that thing that the prisoner gave to you, Eva? Before you like that?
Yeah, she'll pull out like from around her neck, and there's like 2 little seashells hanging on a necklace. I think it's like a sending stone, but like a sending shell.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey! Oh my goodness, we both have sending things now. That's adorable.
I look over at Callista, like, yeah, they both have sending stones.
Yep.
That awful, arrogant general that she hates is checking up on her again. Like,
can't stand him.
Love it. Callista and I are like the two that just stand on the ship and ship everyone else.
Well, yeah, we're on a ship.
And on the ship, shipping.
Honestly.
Shipping on the ship.
Shipping on the ship.
The Durkle ship. Well, hopefully we are done being accosted by various aquatics.
But actually, both of you, Astrea and Callista, have you ever read anything about this sort of underwater kingdom? I couldn't really understand what they were saying to us, but it seemed like the one that we took in was a prince. No,
go ahead.
And have you ever heard of anything like this? Maybe from merchants or any records? Or Callista, have you ever had a dream about an underwater city?
I mean, I think I've read about it in history books, but I mean, I didn't think it actually existed anymore.
Yeah, legend has it there was another poly that was, I believe, the more romantic among us might say smote by
Smited.
Yes, smited. Thank you. What was it, by Heliod? I look projecting. What was it? Heliod, was it?
It was Heliod. Yeah. So the story. I'll remind everyone of the story. It basically is that the city was supposed to be a really great poly, and it was kind of just on the it was another like coastal poly that was almost like its own island. It was just kind of a bit further out, but still attached to Theros. And supposedly it was protected by, and they kind of venerated Heliod there. And one day, for them, they were plunged into darkness. No one has ever really understood why that happened. There's sort of theories and things like that, but they woke up and the sun didn't rise for that city. And the priests there, known as the Triarchy, they jumped to conclusions too soon that they had made Heliod mad in some way, and they erected their own sun. Basically, they kind of created their own light source, and then Heliod woke up and was like, "Oh, you appear to be in darkness. Wait, you did what now?" And got mad at them for having the hubris to say that they didn't need him, basically. And so he smited them into the sea and plunged them into the depths, and no one really knows what happened. What you will also know is that there is a it is not, in terms of size, really considered like a grand poly in the same way that like Miletus and Setessa and Akros are, but there is a large-ish approaching city kind of size place called Neolantin, that is in it is under Miletus's control. So Miletus kind of has this huge city, and then there's like a lot of towns and fishing villages that are considered within Miletus's bounds within their lands, and Neolantin is one of them. It is right on the edge, and it claims that it follows a lot of the practices and traditions of Olantin of old, but and they even have their own triarchy, but they pay special veneration towards Heliod to kind of say, oh, hey, we do need you, and we have learned from their mistakes. But Neolantin, that is called. So new Olantin.
So Estrella's mouth opens and Kat's voice comes out saying all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, do you think, Callista, that we'd be able to find, like, you know, not really family, but like your blood relatives there?
That would be really cool. I don't know who my family is. I was left as a I was left at the temple as a baby. The only thing I have from my parents, whoever they are, is this knife, and she pulls it out, and it looks kind of like a tooth from a very large aquatic sea creature.
Wait, and you have family knife too? Estrella pulls out like a dagger.
Oh my god, it's like we're twins.
Knife 5.
Onyx, everybody have family knife? Onyx pulls out her.
I feel like Eva would also have a family knife.
I have a shield.
Eva would definitely have a family knife.
I love this newfound bonding over all having family knives.
And then Onyx pulls out her massive great sword and it's like, I also have a family knife.
Oh,
It's a very big
it must be, it's fate that we all came together. I mean, we all seem to be bonded. But
They're knives.
yeah.
And then Kaliuk is like, I have a family mace.
I have a shield, and I pick up my shield, and its face just like the face on the shield just like changes into a smile, and it's the most grotesque looking smile that all of you have ever seen. But Kalika just mimics the same thing.
Oh
like,
my god, I love it.
You can actually see the family resemblance between, like, it's a real caricature of a smile, but you can kind of see, like, it's a Goliath's face on this shield, and you can kind of see like the family resemblance between the shield and Kalika, because the way that they smile, obviously this one is a little bit more like grotesquely caricatured, but the way that they smile is kind of similar, like the same little like sparkle in their eyes, and these kind of like two carved hands appear at the bottom in just like a little thumbs up.
The Callista dagger, does it appear to be just kind of like a really fucking big shark tooth or something spicier?
And actually that was something Callista wanted to ask Estrella, because
I love how these two just think, right?
Yeah, because she's
roll an Arcana check for me. Or do you have identify?
Can Eva come and examine too to see if she can tell what animal it might be from?
I do not have identify, but I have Arcana and I have nature, so I will happily roll Arcana for you. If that's
you roll Arcana. Well, it depends what you're looking for. Are you looking to understand what creature it's from, or are you looking to understand if it has magical properties?
Yes.
What creature it's from?
Both, honestly.
And I'll hold it out so that both of them
obviously
can look at it.
There will be two different checks, but we'll say that for Eva, if you do a nature or survival check for me, whichever one you prefer.
Survival.
And Estrella, I feel like Estrella would naturally be drawn to the magic before she would be drawn to this creature.
Arcana is.
So Arcana it is.
That's a natural 20, I swear to God.
I rolled a 20.
So what did you get? Sorry, let me hold just one sec. Eva, what did you get?
20.
20. Okay, perfect. You would be able to tell Eva that this is a shark. You've seen these kind of teeth. It's quite common when you've kind of like, especially around anyone that has come to visit your family and they may have come from Miletus. This is a shark tooth. Quite a large one, so this has clearly come from a pretty big, maybe abnormally big shark, certainly on the larger side of its species. I would say you probably would be able to identify from that roll that it is a particularly like a hunter shark, so like one of definitely the more dangerous sharks in the waters. And yeah, it seems quite old. It's got these kind of intricate patterns carved upon it, common. I think you would know enough as well to know that in Triton societies, because I want to make it clear, Atlantin is not the only like potential Triton society. Okay, there are like underwater civilizations of Tritons that live in and like around Miletus. It's quite common, actually. There's a lot of Tritons. What made them different was the way that they had kind of like this more ancient language, this song. That's not usual. That's not a usual Triton ability. And even just the way that they looked, as I kind of described before, they didn't look like Tritons. Have a very specific look. And at first glance, you might have looked at Koros and thought, oh, he's a Triton, because of these kind of like fins and aquatic features and the webbing between his fingers. But as you kind of saw all of these others around the boat and everything, what it actually looked more like is that someone had taken like an elf and then stamped aquatic features on them, or a centaur and stamped aquatic features on them. It's not actually that necessarily. There were some that looked even more Triton-y, but it was actually more likely that they're kind of like a blank template, and then they've had like fins and things be put upon them rather than they are actually Triton. Some of them. So but yeah, I think you would have all seen at some point in your life a Triton. It probably, especially if you've lived in or been around Miletus, like Australia, you would have seen loads of them. Callista, you'd have seen loads of them around. They kind of, Miletus is their main sort of like trade city, that they kind of trade their goods, and it's the one that they get on with best. You probably would see less of them in Setessa and Akros, but I think it would be fair to say that you will all have seen at least one Triton in your life.
So it sounds like they almost look like these like land living races somehow had some sort of a magical enhancement or an evolutionary enhancement to live underwater.
But like quickly, like it's almost like someone's just gone quick, like it's very it didn't look well, there was some finesse to it. They've obviously like these features have been it looked like someone had taken kind of like what you would understand to be a standard race and had kind of magicked them to look a bit more aquatic, like created like an aquatic variant of that race, like a sea elf and a sea human rather than a Triton.
It's almost like someone basically blanketed an entire population with a quick little, oh wow, we suddenly all need to be able to survive underwater slap.
Yeah, and I feel like especially given that you are Therosian residents, your obvious answer, who can create magic like that? Only the gods can do something like that, surely. But whether you know which one or why, that is a very different scenario.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't make sense that it would be
more than one involved.
It wouldn't make sense that it would have been Heliod after smiting them.
Yeah, my bet's Thassa. Maybe so, I'm wondering if they maybe kind of put out a desperate prayer to him and he answered it. Oh yeah, by the way, that 28, how's that going with that knife?
Oh yeah. Well,
natural
what were you going to say? What were you going to say, Joan? Sorry, I your audio cuts out a little bit, but I can hear when you're saying.
Sorry, I said, you know who might know stuff about Thassa?
Oh, you're good, buddy. You're good, buddy.
No,
Everyone's favorite.
I'm sure he'd be happy to give us a lecture about it.
Okay, but what if we want more of an abbreviated anything?
Just saying.
In terms of, okay, I'm just going to
Eva's going to take the knife and hand it to Estrella and be like, yep, it's a big shark tooth.
Big shark.
Big shark tooth.
All right.
I see why she and Julio get along.
Yeah, Julio in his little dream is just like, big shark.
Big fish stick.
I'm gonna just get this up because with a 28, yeah, you can
love to roll a natural 20, which is good because I was rolling like absolute garbage yesterday.
All right. So you so what you would know is that immediately, yes, this is magical. It has all of the obvious signs of having some kind of sort of magic inscribed into it. It is good for kind of essentially creating a bit like Eva's new arrows. It has a magical enhancement to make it sharper, and to kind of essentially give you +1 +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. So it's a +1 weapon. What you also get from it, and this is kind of inscribed into the handle, it has the ability to give the spell, which you would kind of know the spell, water breathing on its owner for 1 hour. So it's a limited time thing, but it allows whoever is holding it and whoever activates it to gain that ability to breathe underwater. You also know it's quite powerful, actually, and every time you kind of turn it off and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. Okay, I think I found everything. And then you see, oh no, again, hidden. And whoever has kind of created this has taken the care to try to hide this a little bit, but you have really
rolled well.
you really rolled well. It is going to be particularly powerful against aquatic creatures or beasts, and essentially if this is used to strike them, it will be a +2 instead of a +1, and on a successful hit it will, and you kind of read this last rune and it's a bit difficult to kind of, because it's kind of faded a little bit, but something to do with like, the mind, it will hurt the mind damage, psychic damage, and you kind of go, oh okay, yeah. So it will kind of cloud their judgment, as it was.
What I'm hearing is it's a filleting knife.
Wow.
So Estrella Estrella will be turning this thing over in her hands and just kind of like inspecting the handle. And the twine that's around the handle, she kind of like peeks through a couple of the strands to look at some of the runes, and then she kind of like flips it. And by flips it, I mean carefully turns it around, because she doesn't really have the skill to flip it without dying.
No. Roll a dexterity. No.
Okay. You know what, Kat?
No. Fuck. No. Don't worry.
So she'll kind of
carefully
like
turn it around.
Yeah, I'll turn it around and I'll hand it back to Callista. What are you aware of that this can do, Callista?
I mean, the people in the temple told me that, you know, they think it must have been left by my parents or by my mother, and that it is magical, but they really didn't tell me anything else. I mean,
okay.
When I was little, I used to imagine, and she'll point out, there's some carving on the blade of the knife of some people swimming through the waves. And she's like, I used to imagine that they were my parents, and that someday I would find them again, and I would be able to swim with them under the water. But I mean, to me, it's just a memento that I've kept with me of a past that I don't know about.
I certainly understand. So to shed a little bit of light, this knife has several properties, one of which is very similar to the arrows that Eva found. It's just will be a little bit more effective in cutting, slicing, maintaining sharpness. It appears that it will confer the ability to breathe underwater. Limited time. It does not appear to be permanent. So I wouldn't, go living down there. But and she kind of like points out, she kind of like parts those couple strands of twine that have been wound around the handle a little bit, and kind of like shows you a couple of the runes that have been hidden under it. This appears to be particularly enchanted to work against creatures of the aquatic persuasion. I can't tell the absolute exact details, but I suspect if we had to get into a fight with those Atlanteans, it would have been a very useful thing to have. It looks like it goes for both the body and the mind with those in particular. Though against your average person, your average enemy, it would simply be a little bit sharper.
Oh.
I know that's not necessarily the history behind it that you may have been hoping for, but I hope it sheds a little bit of light on where it may have come from, or where you may have come from, because that is, I think there's some value in that.
No, thank you. That's good to know. And I mean, maybe my parents wanted me to have a connection to the sea. At least that's how I'm gonna.
That they gave you something that like was super effective against, water friends, but.
Well, I think what you might be able to infer from it, and I think that what the temple will have told you, is very vague. They wouldn't have given you its exact properties, even if they'd known them. They certainly wouldn't have bothered going to pay someone to tell them the exact properties. It would have been more that perhaps you would have just been told, oh, well, it's a sort of a symbol of protection. And I think, yes, giving a child up on land and then giving them something to protect themselves at sea might seem a little odd, but it's definitely probably given your kind of like knowledge around roll me a history check, Estrella.
Let's figure out which die. This one, it's pretty and green. I hate myself. It's a 1.
It's a 1. Okay,
I am rolling on both ends of the spectrum today.
I mean, it definitely infers the message of like protecting, and would probably have that kind of like emotional message if it was giving out any, that whoever was holding this knife is going to be well protected. And so perhaps if Callista did ever decide to go to try to find her parents, and they are indeed in one of these Triton societies below the sea, then she would be well protected while going to find them.
And that's definitely how.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's how she's gonna, and that's what she's gonna take from it, is that her parents were trying to protect her even when they had to give her up.
Yeah. And Estrella looks a bit like she's trying to like remember something, kind of like you can see her like flipping through this invisible book and just like thinking, and then she's like, I lost it.
Definitely lost it. One. Oh dear.
Bold of you to assume she ever had it.
And then Callista kind of looks around and she's like, I really probably should have asked about this sooner. Probably could have saved some of you some money. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, but I know now.
There is... No. Being able to breathe underwater is certainly helpful, but the gear that at least I personally ended up getting made it also possible to move underwater. I swim fine, but not with any meaningful amount of speed. If I fell off, I'd be kind of fucked.
I like my gloves.
And also, that's special to you. I don't think any of us would want to.
I can breathe in anything, so
perfect. And Caliuca, well,
walk in water now.
Yeah, did you see that?
Does Caliuca believe that she can just now walk on water forever? Is this? Oh gosh.
Yeah, and is it like a boon from the god? Maybe like Callista, did you pray to someone? And
don't say that too loud. Hector might hear you.
Well,
start babbling on about Thassa.
I knew you were worried about being able to swim, and I was, I was thinking about it and I've been worrying about it, and I was just like, how can I help? And all of a sudden I got this, my goddess must have given me this, and I came up with this idea, and I cast the spell I've never cast before, and I didn't exactly know what it was going to do, but it was really cool. I mean, you hit the water and you didn't go down, and it's like,
I know.
it was amazing.
I
That
felt
was
like a
very cool.
superhero. It was
You-
fantastic.
You look like a superhero.
I'd like Kalika starts to flex.
Honestly, I think you are a superhero. We'll go with that.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I mean, honestly, with that sidewalk shop you commissioned of us, it was amazing.
Yeah, so good. Amazing.
I
In
mean,
so many ways.
Look, I don't know how shitty it was. I'm not shitty, but like,
No, it was really well detailed. It was probably one of the best pieces of art that Australia has ever seen.
Great, amazing. What an opportune time for someone to take their sweet time with the detailing.
Yeah, they really went all out. They really captured the essence of each and every one of you. Like,
Great.
Calista,
just a
I know
side
that-
note, as you're all talking, Eva, you've been kind of probably keeping an eye, passive perception and all being what it is. That bird has completely disappeared from eyeline now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what? This is still day 1. And how long is our journey to?
No. You're on day 2 now. You're on day
fuck.
2 of
Yeah,
this
that's
journey.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
You had
How
a long
long-
rest.
That's right. Yes. How long is our journey to the Isles?
You're not really sure. What you know is that you probably will reach sort of the Isles, where the Isles begin today. It's not a very long journey.
Mm-hmm.
However, what you will find there is a bit less certain.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been vaguely told, but you don't know masses about it, that the Isles are a bit tricky. They don't always behave in the way that you would expect them to.
Expect the unexpected. Street smarts. Okay. Awesome. Oh boy. Okay. This is gonna be a fun time. I also forgot to eat my breakfast sandwich. Whoops. Straight says
Eva,
that out loud.
having noticed that the bird is like gone, and noticing that probably Onyx heard her curse at it, and Onyx is probably kind of aware that Eva was looking at something. Eva's gonna clicky clacky over to Onyx and like reach up and grab some part of her clothing and kind of like pull her away from the group a little bit to go for a walkies.
So as
Walkie-talkie.
you're kind of all talking and starting to discuss the different things to do with this dagger and what it could mean and stuff, Eva takes that moment to slightly slip away. And Onyx, you've been kind of apart from the conversation, but a little aloof, because you know that Eva has noticed something, and then this kind of whole thing just happened and everyone's talking and everything like that, but you've been kind of trying to follow her gaze and look out at what she might be looking at, and you can't see anything at all. The sun's quite blinding. She's like almost looking directly into the sun, as she's kind of like saying, and it's a bit too bright at this point.
Also, my passive perception is 11.
11.
Yeah, that this is me flavoring the passive perception score.
Yeah.
So Eva's just going to take her and, casually go for a walk. She's going to start looking just generally at the horizon and nowhere in particular. And she's just going to quietly tell Onyx that something has definitely been watching them and following them.
Something's been watching us?
Mm.
You think magical?
Yeah, that's not a real bird.
Should we maybe tell Estrella?
I don't know yet. Let me do some of this and some of this, and I'll figure out who needs to know.
Okay.
'Cause
Maybe
we're-
in the future, just throwing this out there, if you guys are within a certain range of me when we're asleep, you'll be a little bit safer.
Okay.
Sorry, Onyx. We would like. Are you saying this out loud?
No, you can't hear the
Okay,
conversation.
good.
If only we could all hear this. Oh man.
How
But
intrigued?
Magical.
How?
it's just part of who I am.
Amelia.
Amelia.
God stuff. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe.
Plus,
So sometimes I like to sleep out under the stars. So
I understand. If you want, I can join you maybe.
I can make you a bed up there. Do you want I'll make you a fluffy bed?
Sure.
Okay. Eva gets very excited.
Dion's not allowed to
Everyone's
sleep in
gonna
the
be
same.
sleeping in the crow's nest by the end of this voyage.
No,
It's a
not
whole
Dion.
cuddle
No,
puddle.
not enough room for three. There's not enough room up there for that many people. But I mean, me, you, Julio, we're good.
Down by the schoolyard.
Yeah, down by the schoolyard. Yes, up in the crow's nest. Yeah. But for now, don't say anything. I have to figure out the best way to let it be known if it needs to be known. Problem is, if more people know, then it becomes troublesome.
I'll
Everyone
stay
thinks
vigilant.
they know what's right, and sometimes they don't know what's right, even though they think they do. And I have to assess the situation.
That's the situation.
So shh. Also shh about the Olentians. Let's keep their
yes.
secret.
I'm not a big talker.
That's why I like you. And Eva will pat her on the shoulder.
I'll preen her a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So Onyx and Eva, you now know that you are being followed, but choosing not to spread that any further for now. Interesting. And so in terms of like what's happening with your crew right now, obviously you've all just been under attack. This is kind of this has happened over the course of sort of half an hour, maybe to an hour of directly after the attack. Cascade has been kind of like giving orders and trying to get everyone back into work mode, but also giving space for everyone, especially those that almost just died, because some of them didn't have magical enchantments for breathing, and quite a few of them actually, and definitely would have died had that continued. And that would have been really interesting if you'd lost half your crew for a ship that needed to be manned by that amount of crew. But yeah, so everyone's kind of like trying to get on track, and at that point a number of the crewmates, they're all kind of gazing at Kaliuka in awe, because they consider Kaliuka to be the person that saved their lives. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that they don't have a very good passive perception enough and they weren't really like focusing in on that moment enough. So you don't have an entire boat that now know that Julio lives and exists.
This is Julio erasure.
This is really just kind of your little group that knows that Julio is there. But they're kind of all like gazing in awe. You've already spent a little bit of time with a lot of these crew members, Kaliuka, and they liked you then, but they really like you now. Like, you are probably the most popular new member on this ship, because you've just played a badass piece of music and you just stopped this as well, and you saved everyone. And so like they're kind of like taking it in turns to come up and kind of mumble their thanks, and they're really like grateful. And what else is happening? Hector is sort of sitting on a nearby barrel, and he is kind of mumbling to himself. He is praying, you presume, and he's really making it look like the absolute wind has been taken out of him, and he's exhausted after all of his hard work.
How's Cedric doing?
Cedric, you're asking after Cedric? Wow, this is.
I feel a little guilty. I look at Callista too, and I'm just like, well,
interestingly, and this might make Kalyuka feel even more guilty,
no.
because she fully just outwardly expressed to Callista, like, I am not saving that goblin. Okay, like that was something that she expressed out loud, and he didn't hear that, obviously. So what he saw was Kalyuka playing these bagpipes, and then this horrible, desperate feeling to go for a swim, even though he knows he cannot swim, just ended. And he has kind of been like, he went down to his kitchen, and he's been kind of like whipping up snacks and hot drinks for people to try to get them back, but he does eventually approach you, Kalyuka, as he watches all the other kind of crew members approach you, and he looks up at you, and he says, thank you for saving my life.
Oh, you're welcome, little Cedric. If you ever get too bored cooking all by yourself, maybe I can come down and play you a little song.
And he kind of nods, and then he pulls out from behind his back. There's like this plate, and it's stacked with like lots of different greens and like carrots and different things. And he presents it to you, and he said, for Caillou. And he looks like really sheepish, and a bit uncomfortable, but but he's like, Captain said I hurt feelings talking about food, and Caillou, it's back home, when we meet new people, we give ingredients or food as presents, and I made mistake. I'm sorry. And he kind of like presents, and he says, for Caillou. Caillou is looking at you like she's still a bit grumpy, still a bit sassy, and a little bit wary of this goblin, but like you can see the little nose is twitching, and like her head is kind of starting to make its way in the direction of this, like in the direction of this plate of delicious and it looks like he's taken great care in preparing. It's not just like a bowl of carrots, like it's
like
been
Julienne.
Well arranged. There's like spices. He's really clearly thought about like trying to flavor this to be a delicious
roast
meal.
radishes.
Not me,
like,
just sitting here
really trying to
crying
make it
about a fucking goblin and a bunny.
Oh my God. I'm just going to like, like Kalika's tearing up. She's going to quickly send a message to Callista and go like, I feel so bad. And, and just like takes the plate and looks down at Caillou and goes like, Caillou, say thank you. Okay. Caillou just like puts a hand on Cedric's boot and just like nods her head, but immediately
little
looks
paw up. Little paw up, like a dog begging for its food a little bit, puts a little paw up, and then like Cedric just puts his hand out and just like taps at the hand.
I'm just gonna like bend down and just touch Cedric on his shoulder, and any sort of tears or anything that he might have gotten on his little chef's clothing, I just make it go away with a bit of mending. So he looks like the smart little goblin chef.
Oh my God. Okay, so he's got like, because he has this apron, and it's clearly like his pride and joy. It's the same apron that he's just constantly wearing, but it's like, it's a bit tatty. Like there's rips on it. There's like kind of like it's kind of like coming up at the hem. It's clearly like just this scrap of cloth that he's like fashioned into an apron, and it kind of starts to like mend itself, and he is just like in awe, just like the crew were. It's almost as if they've just never seen this magic before, and I love that because it's just a cantrip. But he's just looking at it like, and he's just completely blown away by this real gesture of friendship.
Thank you so much, Cedric. Now, anytime if you feel bored or if you get like another tear on your apron, Kalika will fix it for you, okay? And and again, Caillou is friend, not food, and she'd love to be your friend.
Not food, and he's really like, not food. Friend, and just pats Caillou awkwardly.
I'm just gonna sit down with Caillou and we're gonna eat and like make it a point to like both Caillou and I are gonna look up at Cedric and go like, delicious.
Caillou does not need any kind of deception. It's the best. It's the best Almiraj food that this bunny has ever had. Like it's so good. Like at first it's like this really big like and then and then just like eating a lot of it. Like,
oh, it's cute.
This bunny.
That's the emotional moment of the episode, y'all.
The most emotional moment of the episode.
I'm sorry, I'm about to cry over a fucking bunny.
We got time. The episode's not over.
True.
Yeah, we got time. All right, oh god, I really completely lost track of time then because it's an hour earlier for me. So I was like, are we only 10 minutes in? I was so confused.
No, we're an hour and 10 minutes in.
How are we only 10 minutes into this episode?
Nope. Nope.
By the way, what is Captain Cascade doing?
Her best.
Captain Cascade is taking stock of the ship. And like she's kind of watching, making sure everything is like in order. Obviously they're going through, from what they could tell, there was no like damage to the boat and everything like that. They are doing their usual checks just to be safe, just to make sure that there wasn't anything happening under the ship that was like some like Atlantean creature just gnawing at the bottom of the ship or anything like that. So they're just basically taking stock. And she is she's given them a moment to kind of like process and recover, but she's also like definitely trying to snap them out of like she's like very like, this is the Siren Sea, this is this is dangerous waters, like we knew what we were signing up for. Very much got like that attitude. And she's kind of getting to the end of this moment where she's just like barking orders, and she's kind of just surveying and looking around for her next task, I guess. and she kind of gets out this telescope and she's looking in the distance to see if she can see any sign of land. And she's kind of left you all alone, actually, to kind of convene together, but she has been giving a little watch but not really paying attention. Yeah, she kind of, at this point, she kind of captures that Eva and Onyx are now at the side of the boat and that you've kind of all dispersed a little bit. And she walks over and she starts to walk towards you. And she says, "What? Everyone all right over here?"
Yeah. Captain. Does this happen often? Do you usually? I know this was partially our fault, but does this usually happen when you get attacked by sentient aquatic creatures?
Oh yes, there's all sorts of things in the sirens. Partially your fault, and she just like looks a bit confused, like how you could possibly think that this was your fault.
Well, I mean, maybe we could have tried harder to find a way to talk to our stowaway.
I mean, he was exhausted. There wasn't much we could do to talk to him in the first place, but...
Well, yes, it was definitely my fault for assuming that they'd come to kill us when Eva just dived into the sea.
No, I mean, like, we couldn't talk to him because he was passed out. Like, it...
Look, we had what we had, and we did what we could with the situation. It's no one's fault.
And there were no losses, most importantly.
And there were no losses, and that is thanks to you. So I owe you a debt of gratitude, Kaliuka, for your... Well, I don't know what happened out there, but clearly something did, and it worked in our favor. So whatever it was, thank you. And she kind of just looks around. She's obviously a little bit uncomfortable with having to thank other people. It's not really something that she's used to doing. She says, as far as attacks, yes, it's quite common, especially Sahuagin. They're quite persistent in their idea that the sea belongs to them. But there are many dangers out here on Siren Sea, and especially around the Dakra Isles.
And do you know where the kingdom is? What is it called? Neo something?
Alantin or Neolantin?
Orlantin or Neolantin?
Neolantin.
Neolantin, everyone would know where that is. It's kind of tagged itself into, like, it's just somewhere that exists on Theros. You would know, even if you didn't know geography very well, you'd know, oh yeah, Neolantin, that's somewhere that is kind of near to Miletus somewhere. It's a lot. But
do you know where Olantin? Yes. Do you know where Olantin is?
I have never had an interaction with anyone from Olantin before yesterday. If they are still out there, then I'm not really sure what to do about that. I
think leave them alone.
I should look at you and say, you don't think we should tell someone? It's quite a major discovery.
It is, but I got the vibe that they don't want to be disturbed.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing Eva will have like kind of heard this conversation.
Yes, with a passive perception of blah, you will have heard that.
Yep. Eva's gonna like go wide-eyed and just kind of scurry away from Onyx without telling her, what she's doing, and she's gonna scurry over to the group and kind of respectfully like stand there with her hands folded over her front, waiting to be able to speak and for people to look at her.
We do.
Cascade will notice, obviously, this bird comes scurrying over. we'll kind of look at all of you. I think that she was kind of in two minds. She hadn't really made any kind of decision. She was just kind of mulling it over, like, that's interesting. We found a lost civilization. What do we do next about that? And the ferocity of like, no, we leave them alone. It's like made her take a back a bit and kind of made her instantly go into devil's advocate mode. That's where she's just like, oh, you want me to do this thing? No one tells me what to do. So she
I
kind
will
of
just say that Onyx follows after.
And suddenly, like, this bird, this Kenku has just appeared from nowhere, like that, like cartoon running, and then like gadang, right next to her, like no. And she kind of goes to speak, and then she just like Sincha. Yes, do you have something to say?
I think, based on how little is known about the civilization, that it is probably kept a secret on purpose. I think Krupix might have their hand in this this secret of the ocean, and I feel it would be very wise to not upset a god and their domain. So perhaps this would be best off as our little secret. And I can, potentially throw a little bit of no, I'm not great at intimidation. No, she's just gonna
I'm good at
intimidation.
intimidation.
That I'm not good at.
So yes,
I
Eva
will,
is going
just
to be like,
be
I
like-
think it would be wise if we don't piss off a god about their secrets.
I'm gonna just say like, oh,
Go on.
Eva doesn't usually go on at length. My advice would be to take what she's saying very seriously, and I will do an intimidation check.
I will allow an intimidation check. You can either each make an intimidation check, or one of you can make it at advantage.
Well, I'm gonna give. I will give the one who has more than I do for it, because I only have a +1 to that. So I will give
That's
advantage.
smart thinking.
Yeah, the little bird is standing in front of the bigger creature, but it's Eva that's the intimidating presence, but giving that to Onyx.
Well, I didn't roll great, but I still got a 16.
A 16. Okay, so we have this moment where Cascade is listening to Eva, and she is listening. Like, she's not like, it's not necessary that she needs to be massively persuaded, but she's just kind of trying to think about all sides. And she listens to what you have to say, and she goes to speak, and then we get a classic Estrella meme of this looming shadow behind her. And she turns around, and Onyx is behind her with her arms crossed, like, I'd listen to what she has to say if I were you. And she kind of put her hand up. She's like, I'm not trying to fight, but if the stories are to be believed, then by trying to please one god, we might, and she kind of gestures up at the sun, anger another.
Oh.
But perhaps in the interest of safety. From what we gathered based on our interactions with him in your cabin, thank you for that, it seemed that a lot of it was concern for the safety of his people. And while inaction may rankle one god, I think taking active action against another may be a bit more effective in angering another, if that makes sense. And ultimately, this is a civilization's safety.
Also
If
point
you
out
keep
there's
it a
more than
secret,
one-
none of the other gods are gonna know. So
But I don't think we've really asked this though. Like, how did he find himself here? Like, was he kidnapped? What happened to him to
Likely
take him
kidnapped.
away?
Likely kidnapped by Sawagan. But Onyx, what were you saying?
Yes.
I was just saying there's more than one god interested in the
Yes.
doings of our group.
Yes.
And while it seems like keeping this secret may offend one god, going against the intentions of our group will definitely offend more than one god.
Also, again, there was a direct request, from what I understand, to keep what we learned close to the chest. And that should be respected.
She kind of mulls it over a little in her mind, and then she gives a sort of sharp nod, and she goes, "No, you're right. Inaction is one thing, but I'm not about to condemn an entire civilization to."
Yeah. You know what'll happen if people find out.
I just
War
have to think about the
and-
safety of my crew. That's all.
Of course. But
That's
think
all
of it
I'm
this
trying to
way.
do.
Keep their secret. We have been given a very rare honor to be aware of this civilization, and I don't think they will forget that in future dealings with your crew.
It's true. They would be potentially a useful and powerful ally. They seem to know the. Well, certainly for your cause, also, they seem to know the seas very well. Yes. All right. No one will
Captain,
say anything. I'll make sure of it.
Do you know of any sort of organized Soagan group that may have, I don't know, maybe have been spreading news about trying to find this kingdom, or trying to maybe revolt against people on land, or anything, like any sort of suspicions that you've had about any sea groups, essentially?
Honestly, no. I know very little about underwater politics. My area of expertise, I suppose, is more the isles themselves and perhaps some of the dangers that we will face in and around the isles. But in terms of beyond knowing that the Sahuagin are very dangerous, my encounters and run-ins with them have never been a conversation where I could find out more about their means and motives. What limited I know is that they seem to run in very small bands. They're more like I suppose the bandit groups than anything. I have not ever heard of or seen a large organized Sahuagin military or them rally behind one leader. They seem to be kind of like small groups. Kind of explains they seem to be kind of like small groups of thieves, as it were, of the sea, and they just seem to. The only thing that she knows is that they very much like view the sea as their own domain, and that everyone else that sort of sails upon it is trespassing, and so what belongs to them now belongs to the Sahuagin, and that's like their view on it. She's very like, I've never had to really go down, though now I confess I'm very curious to know what I would find if I did. Who knows? I didn't even really see. We didn't really see where they swam off to. Olantin could be miles from here, or could be literally below the boat. I have no idea.
Well, maybe if you're good at keeping the secret, maybe you'll be trusted to know more eventually.
Certainly, this area has always been, ever since I was a child, it has always been of a curiosity to me to know more. The sea calls to me in a way, and well, let me show you. And she kind of leads you all into her cabin. And you've been in there before, obviously, but what you really get to see is that it's kind of it's lined with a lot of books. First of all, so she's an avid reader. She's very curious, and all of these books seem to be on like very specifically like stories and the magic of the Dacra Isles and the Siren Sea and all of its various inhabitants and things like that. Like she specifically has this interest in this knowledge base. And yes, there is one or two books on Olantin in there, but it's more kind of like myths and legends. Not necessarily anything concrete. She seems more inspired by stories than she is by facts. So there are definitely factual books written in there. And on her, she's kind of got this desk, and on it laid out is this big like map.
Big map.
But what you notice about it is you can kind of see that she's plotting your course and like the course of the ship. So you can see like the edge of Theros, where Miletus is, and you can see she's kind of plotted where the ship is, and you can see actually you're quite close to approaching the Dacra Isles. But what really interests you is that this map is movable. Where the Dacra Isles are, there seems to be organized into rings and can be shifted around. And also on various areas, it seems to be a work in progress, this map. There's little flaps, so you can see like where an island is. Underneath it, the flap kind of moves up and suddenly there's no island there. And what it seems to imply is that the Dacra Isles move, they shift, they change. And she kind of says, oh, it's a bit of a work in progress really, but well, this is what we're up against.
Estrella's just got like the cartoon hard eyes as she's looking around.
And we are at 3:30 now, so I will put us to break so that we can take some time to, I don't know, grab a cuppa or stretch our legs and everything like that. And we shall come back in about 15 minutes time. So all right, thanks for joining us, all those that have joined us. It's lovely to see so many people in chat today. We love to see it. And we will be back in about 15 minutes. Oh, I just love it when I like look back at the camera and there's a pet on the screen. All right, bye bye. Hello. I don't know why I sang that. Hey everyone, we're back. We are back with our, what are we now? Episode 7. Oh, episode 7.
Yeah,
Episode
right?
7. We only got 10 episodes, everyone. We are back now from break. We had that 15 minutes turned into almost 25. So sorry about that. I guess my kettle takes a little while to boil. But we are back, and we just had our lovely captain take our party into her cabin to show them her very interesting looking map. And it's a very general map, but it's all these really intricate like paper. It's like where the Dakra Isles is. It's almost like paper dials. And she basically explains to you all that she has been, in her times that she has traveled around the Dakra Isles, she has found that they shift. That is to say that something causes them to change placement. And she's not entirely sure what. It seems to be the same islands, but they move to different areas and they kind of muddle themselves up, and they don't physically like move in front of your eyes. It's more like there's mist and then the mists part, and now the island that was there before is now a different island, or it's just the sea, or something has changed. And she's been trying to, because they've become known as basically unchartable for this reason. She's trying to create, this is her life's work, a map that can predict or understand, because she's convinced that there must be a pattern. There must be something that causes it to be this one and then this one, and what is causing that, so that she can then chart a map properly. Yes.
Speaking of patterns, would she be willing to either, is that the only copy she has?
She probably has other copies. This is like the one that she's working on. This is the one that she uses. This is her note-taking phase. She probably has like neater versions of like her work so far and things like that. They're kind of scrolled up in the corner, but this is the one that she uses to like think and plot and understand. Yes, there's probably more than one copy.
I would like to ask her if, just kind of like as we're kind of gathering around, would you be opposed? I picked up a little bit of cartography. Would you be opposed if I were to spend some time in here with these maps with you and see if I can find a pattern?
Roll. Do you know what? I am gonna get you to roll a persuasion check just to see how, because this is her baby. Okay, this is like her thing, and you just walked in. She's showing it to you, and you just walked in and gone, "Oh, give me!" And she's like, "Oh, okay, whoa."
Let's see.
While that's going on, Eva's gonna kind of walk over to the map, and she's gonna start looking at it, and she's gonna like look at the ship, and then she's gonna like point in directions from the little ship, and she's just gonna be like plotting something while all that's going on.
17.
17. You see the moment that she tenses up. She's immediately like, and then she takes a second, and then she says, "Yes, any help with it, I would really appreciate."
Later, of course.
I know you have a lot of, and then she kind of is distracted a little because Eva has just brazenly walked up to it and started like poking at it, and is plotting something, and she kind of just looks and she, can I help you?
Eva will startle out of her own little world, and kind of look up, and she's gonna look around at everyone gathered. She's gonna visibly like count them, see their faces, make sure it's all people that she knows and trusts, and then she's going to heave a heavy sigh. And she's gonna point to the boat, and then she's gonna point. Dogs, stop that. She's gonna point in the direction that she remembered the bird flying, and she is going to reveal that she had seen what looked like potentially a familiar flying in amongst the seagulls. It had obviously been there watching them, and it had flown in this direction back towards somewhere. And she feels like it was a scout looking out for the group.
When you say familiar, was it another seagull?
It was like a parrot, but not a parrot. It's like someone had a fever dream about a parrot, and that's what they manifested. The seagulls tipped me off on it, saying that something's been flying up there, messing around with its flock, and that's what brought my attention. I managed to just catch it as it was buggering off in that direction.
As you say, like a fever dream of a parrot, okay? Cascade is gonna, because you've got quite, and I think Callista would notice this as well. Cascade is gonna kind of sharply turn towards you, and she's gonna start making her way towards the map. And she will adjust a couple of these kind of dials, and open up a flap. And she will point to it, and on it is a picture of a multicolored bird with these beautiful tail feathers. And she will point to it and she will say, "Did it look like this?"
Yes.
Ooh.
Almost identical. Except maybe it had a little more blue over here. Yeah, that's the one. That's the bitch.
That's the bitch.
That's the bitch. And she will heave a great big sigh herself. And she will say, "Well, that complicates things drastically." And she will pull out from a sort of drawer nearby another dial and affix it on, and she will say, "It seems that Captain Piper is out to play as well." And on it there are all of these sort of flaps, and underneath each of them is this picture, and it's quite well drawn actually. It's very clear that Cascade has some artistic talent. I will put that out there now. But there is this picture of this ship, and to look at, you instantly see the shape of a ship, but when you look closer, the wood is strange, and it kind of even seems to resemble like a rib cage, the way that it is at the bottom of the ship. It doesn't look like any ship you've seen before. The sails are kind of they're colorful and silken, but they're tattered. And she says, she tells you that Captain Piper is a notorious pirate who sails the Siren Sea, but their ship uses, or kind of what's the word, they have some control, some mastery over a very particular dangerous type of magic, of the necromantic kind. They seem to have some mastery and some affiliation with the undead. They sail the ship, the Boneheart is what the name of the ship is.
Oh, that goes hard.
The Boneheart. And she tells you, I've had 1 or 2 run-ins with Captain Piper and barely made it out alive. They are ruthless. But this is unusual. Their ship has a way of traveling great distances at very short times, over very short times, but they don't normally. I've never seen that blasted bird just watching before.
Is there a reason they could be following you? Do you have something of theirs?
No, like I said, I've not had many run-ins with Captain Piper. Who has an insight over 18? She's not telling the whole truth.
Oh, okay.
And she said, but she seemed to, when she said that she didn't have anything of theirs, that did seem to be the truth. But she's definitely not telling the whole truth. It's specifically the sentence, I've not had many run-ins with Captain Piper, and like this kind of, oh yeah, I don't really know much about Captain Piper beyond like we've passed. But she seems to be holding that one very close to her chest. And
oh my god, they're exes.
She says, people think that Captain Piper isn't even alive anymore. They're a ghost story. And I wouldn't believe in it myself if I hadn't seen it for myself.
Is there any reason?
What do they look like? Sorry, go ahead.
Red pirates.
Oh. I was just going
Sorry,
to...
say that again?
Who? Which one of us?
I'll go with you, Joan, first, and then Kumi.
Okay. Because Onyx doesn't have a high insight check, she's gonna take Cascade at her word and ask, could they be following us?
Now that poses an interesting question. I mean, like I said, this is not the only time I've seen that bird. Captain Piper normally plays their hand very shortly after and wouldn't allow us this level of time. Certainly wouldn't let the bird fly away, and it implies that they're watching us, observing, rather than wanting to attack. You're after a powerful figure.
Two.
If they're working together, we are in a lot more trouble than I originally thought we were.
That seems to be par for the course for us.
So, Kellyuka, to answer your question, she kind of like holds up the illustrations. But
do they have any sort of insignia on their banner and a crew maybe with them? Do they come with a whole ship crew? Like how big is their front essentially?
Their ship is larger than ours. There is a crew, though they don't, like I said, it's a ghost story. They're not alive anymore. They're something more.
Or less.
But
Or less.
Or less. Captain Piper, though. Captain Piper is very much still sentient, shall we say.
What happened when you met the captain? And how is it that you got out alive?
With speed and a lot of difficulty, let's just say that. And she seems very clammed up, like even like the way she says that, even though a lower insight score, you can tell that she's very This is not a subject that she's comfortable touching upon.
Okay. I wonder what that is.
How long after the sighting of the bird do they usually end up showing up?
Almost immediately.
Oh.
So we are...
When did you see the bird? And she looks at you. How long ago? Probably either it was probably about, at this point, it probably would have been about an hour or more.
About 60 minutes, maybe 65.
Did your seagull friend tell you whether the bird had been following us for some time or anything?
I don't think did it
the
mention
gull
it?
told you that it did. It said that this bird keeps appearing, following you for a bit, and then going, and then coming back.
Yes. So it seems to come and go. It comes and watches, and then leaves, and then comes back and disrupts the flock and bird politics.
So it's been around for more than just that last sighting that you had.
I think from pretty much since we left.
Which means this is not the typical behavior for this person.
Since we left, that would imply that
they had someone there,
or
they were there.
Since we've left port?
For pretty close. I mean, we haven't been gone too long, and they did say it's come and gone quite a lot.
This is very much out of Captain Piper's territory.
Oh, and isn't it a little strange then that, I mean, I don't know if they would have any beef, but we did have a prince on board for a night.
Right, but the bird was here before the prince.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Captain, I have a question. Do you think that Captain Piper would notice if I were to send my bird out there?
Yes.
Would it provoke them?
You've sent your bird out before and it didn't. We're all still here, aren't we?
It just pisses the seagulls off.
She does not seem confident, by the way, that you guys have any chance of she's just like, this is the way that she's talking about Captain Piper is like, if Captain Piper decides to attack us, that is a death sentence. Like, we are going to die. Like, I barely got out before.
I mean, here's the thing. I've sent my bird out before, but it's been standard patrolling. It's been a pattern. It's gone out, it's looked around, it's come back. If I give my bird a specific direction to look for that ship, or look for that bird, or look for this person, which kind of indicates the illustration, do you think that would...
Absolutely not.
I just want to put this out
I can
there.
ask the seagulls to go do some recon.
I just want to put this out there. Like, Onyx and Eva, when you were underwater, nothing was following us there, right?
I didn't even know what I was doing.
Aside from about 50
Nothing
Atlanteans.
visible was following you. You know that much.
Nothing visible.
Because I tried to do the thing for invisible stuff.
Right. So, go ahead, Callista.
I was just gonna say, I was thinking, because we don't exactly know where we're going, and so I was going to cast a spell to try to find out, to ask my goddess to find out where we should go. But maybe it's more important to find out if this Captain Piper person is following us or who he's working for. I can ask any of those questions if you think it would be worth knowing.
I wonder if...
I'm pretty sure we know who he's working for.
Not necessarily... Well, probably. I suppose...
There are a couple of options here. Either Captain Piper is working with this lady that you're after, in which case we'll be lucky if we make it to her. Or perhaps, and then she'll kind of go to the map. Perhaps they are keeping their distance because they are waiting for something else to, and she kind of like starts to adjust a few dials, and she's kind of like lost in her thought.
You think they might know the pattern?
If anyone knows the pattern of these islands, it's Captain Piper.
You think they're waiting for an advantageous position?
An advantageous position, something that will save them the effort, perhaps. As I said, this is dangerous territory that we're in.
Right.
There's a lot of different factors. It's impossible to know. It would be good to have it confirmed. Any intel that you think you can gain from the gods would be useful, be it exactly what Piper's motives are, why they are keeping their distance, or indeed relating to your Lady Helene and this Ulysses.
What do you think, Estrella? I mean, you seem to know, kind of have the big picture more so than I do.
I am a little lost here. I think that, so we have established that this Captain Piper has their bird following this ship. We know that in the past, when we were not involved, the bird very closely preceded the ship. Now that we are here, we know the bird has been watching. I am assuming that it is likely that does this Captain Piper tend to stick around the Dapper Isles?
Yes.
All right. Then chances are, given the fact that this is kind of their territory, it is Lady Helene's territory, and therefore now Ulysses' territory. I think it is safe to cautiously assume that they are in league.
But why?
Question, I don't know.
Captain
that is what I don't
Piper
know.
is a lone wolf. They
But they're a
answer to
pirate.
themselves only.
But they're a pirate. If they were offered enough money, if they were offered enough goods, if they were offered something. No?
Piper doesn't care about money.
What do they care about? What do they want? What can buy their allegiance?
We all know the fates are involved here, so there's probably definitely some strings being pulled in regards to the fates.
We've also been followed since we left, and we've been more vulnerable than we are right now. So if their goal was just to wait until we were at our most vulnerable and then attack us, they should have done so already.
Right.
I feel like there is some godly bullshit going on.
Safe bet.
What does motivate this person? What motivates them?
Therosian Odyssey.
Godly
bullshit abounds.
Next week's tag.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go. Somebody tag a marketing manager.
But what would buy this person's allegiance? What? A threat? A promise of undeading their crew? Like what?
Well, there's many stories. Maybe some more believable than others, but perhaps a promise of life again.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Captain Piper seems to seek feeling, some kind of sport.
Oh.
Some kind of.
Okay.
I mean, there is one story, but
Well, now
What's
you have
the
to
story?
They say that Captain Piper was in love before they died.
I was gonna say they need a partner. With whom?
I don't know that.
Passive
I
insight.
think Callista would like to like check that.
Passive insight, they don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. So it's not them, in other words.
Could you imagine?
Or it's
Could you
them,
imagine
but they
if I was
didn't
like,
know.
it's them. It's they genuinely don't actually know that.
How long have they been haunting these seas?
Certainly as long as I've been a sailor on them. And they don't age. It's
Right.
Who might know more about the stories of Pym? Is there anybody that either on your crew or that you've encountered in your work in the past that would know these stories better?
Well, it would take a lot of luck for us to run into them, but there is someone else who inhabits these isles that I've had many run-ins with before, mostly of the positive, if slightly eccentric nature. They're an oracle, not bound by any god, but they seem to know a lot of almost everything, really. They might know, but we would have to run into them first.
Right. Or they would have to find us.
As difficult to locate as, and she gestures, any of these islands, because in fact more difficult because they are constantly on the move. They travel around on this really quite strange contraption of a raft. And
I mean, if they're an oracle, I mean, Callista, you brought us all together because you knew we were supposed to be together. Maybe the same will happen with us and this mysterious other oracle.
I would certainly love to meet them. I mean, I've only...
Is there like an app for that?
Oracler?
I'll go ask the Twitter.
I mean, we certainly could use more information. I mean, it seems like we're kind of going in blind. I mean, we don't know where Lady Helene is. We don't know why Captain Piper is following us, if he's working for her, or if he's for some reason after Captain Cascade and the ship. I mean, we don't know a lot.
And honestly, that's what we expected coming in. We knew we would be going in not knowing what we were going into. This is exactly what we expected, just a little bit more of it.
My sword is just as sharp either way.
Yeah. I don't think this changes our plans. I think this sharpens our eyes on our watches. And it has you and I, Captain, up late tonight. But
all right.
But I don't think this affects our plans. It just means that we're going to have to be a bit more careful and a bit more observant.
Eva's gonna hold her eyes open.
Well, we do always have to be quite careful and observant, I suppose, but
a little extra so now. But
those on watch will have to keep an eye out for the bird.
Yes, and I suspect that when the time comes that this person wants to strike, we will know it before we see the boat.
Yes, you're probably right.
So we have a little bit of comfort in that, and we will keep a constant watch. I will have my bird go out a little bit further, just double the search radius.
Seagulls have a request.
Oh, yes.
They want your bird to make friends with them first, so that it's part of the flock and they don't feel like it's a stranger flying around with them.
She'll kind of like turn to the sparrow on her shoulder
Ruffles
and be like,
their feathers.
she'll kind of turn to the sparrow on her shoulder and be like, "You think you can make friends with the seagulls?"
Give them food.
Just kind of like hops and just looks at you confused, like, friends.
I know it's weird, but like just
bird politics. You know, flocks. You gotta integrate.
Estrella will kind of like reach into her pocket and pull out like some dried fish, hand it to the sparrow, and be like, "Go make friends."
The sparrow bristles slightly at the idea that it's not doing a good enough job being a bird.
I'm sorry, I love you. You're doing
Go
amazing,
learn how to
sweetie.
be bird from the birds.
Like, you're amazing, sweetie.
Exactly. I'm just like, you're doing amazing. I like just bird politics. I don't know how they work. The birds are saying.
Like,
birds are saying
you're only going on my information, and I don't know bird politics.
Yeah. I'm just like, look, bird politics. Just look. The big bird says to do it. Will you please just make friends, please? Dried fish. Dried fish.
Obviously, the familiar is going to do as you ask because you are controlled.
It's more of a partnership, but thank you. I will send my bird off to make friends.
And while Estrella is talking with her sparrow familiar, Cascade is going to go up and talk to Captain Cascade and just ask, Captain Cascade, I know you say that the islands kind of move around. I mean, do they have specific names, or is there distinguishing features of all of the islands that would help us identify if a particular island?
I would know some of them. What would be really helpful is even if we don't know where it's located at the moment, if we knew which island we were to be looking for.
I can help with that. And
yes.
Callista's gonna kind of go into a corner and sit down and pull out some incense and a little kind of granite statue that looks like the temple to Afara in Miletus. And she's going to spend 10 minutes and cast divination.
Okay.
And she's going to ask her goddess for a description of the island that Lady Helene is on.
All right. Give me just 1 second. You want to know exactly what this island looks like.
Or some way of identifying the island.
All right. So you do exactly as you say. You begin with this incense and this kind of use this focus, which is this granite statue. And you close your eyes briefly. And when you open them, the room is empty. Though you can still feel like you can just vaguely hear your friends kind of talking nearby, but it's like they're gone. The sound that is more overpowering is the sound of the sea, and the waves sort of drifting in and out. And you feel hands on your shoulders, and hear a voice whispering, don't turn, ask your question. And you do. You want a very specific description of exactly what this island looks like. And there is a pause, as if this messenger who has their hand on your shoulder is thinking. And then you hear Ulysses, formerly of House Laos, has swapped one fortress for another. This island holds a large citadel. It is the home of the Lady Helene, and many people live in and around its walls. The cliffs are its biggest feature. They are sheer drops into the water below, and the rocks around it are treacherous. But the greenery, lush, beautiful. You will know this island when you see it, and you just faintly get this sort of image, this impression in front of you of this it's almost like this obstruction in the water. There's these kind of like rocks jagged around, and this sort of huge cliff top block with sort of very almost straight edges straight down, and on top of that it's a sort of citadel. It's walled, it's gorgeously designed. There's these winding paths that lead up to it, going round, and it's certainly well defended in that it is such a sheer drop. It's difficult to scale. It would be difficult to get there and up to this walled fortress without being seen, especially with the rocks kind of around it, and you can see it's almost kind of looking at like a vase of flowers or something. It's just this beautiful beautiful building, and there's these embedded into this sheer drop of cliffs you can see other like houses and signs of life. And then out the top of it is all of this kind of like lush greenery. It is like, to look at, it is really quite beautiful. It's like it almost looks like in itself a sculpture. Like this island has been kind of sculpted to look very aesthetically pleasing, but also definitely serves a very practical purpose of being difficult to get to, difficult to scale. You would certainly know this island when you see it. And it's very easy once you kind of come out of this moment, and you kind of blink again and you're back in the room and everyone's talking. You kind of, I take it that you pass this on to Cascade.
Yeah. But as she's coming out of this vision, she just wants to, does the voice in her head of the goddess that's speaking to her, does it sound like the goddess that she's served since she was a child?
As in the goddess that always speaks to her in her dreams?
Yeah, she's wondering if it is indeed the goddess Afara that is speaking to her, or if it is...
So it sounds like the voice that has always talked to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether that has ever been the goddess Afara, that is not something I can answer.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, she'll definitely give that description to Captain Cascade, and when she comes out of it, she'll go up to Captain Cascade and say, it's an island with a really large citadel at the top of these really sheer cliffs. It's very beautiful. It looks very well fortified. Does that sound like something that an island that you have seen or would know?
As you start to describe it, she kind of listens, and she kind of starts to kind of like turn these dials, and she seems to be looking for something. And then when you kind of like, there's this obviously this real key bit that you talk about of like, oh, it looks like it's a sculpture. It's the way, and you see this moment of like I hoped you weren't going to say this. And she's just like, yes, I know that island. Probably the most difficult island to approach stealthily. I've passed it by once or twice, but I've never gone there. It looks inhabited, though. It looked like there were people that lived there, but something about it just made me feel I wasn't welcome.
Like the way Captain Piper is like that kind of unwelcome, or
no, not no. Captain Piper makes you feel unwelcome in a I am now on your boat and I am killing all of your crew kind of way. This was a lot more subtle in its approach. It was very it felt that there was an energy.
Rancid vibes.
I can't describe it, but it had an effect. It made me feel like I shouldn't be there.
So he really fled Akros and then found a new one.
He found himself a brand new fortress, which is even better. Yeah.
Land Akros to water Akros.
Estrella,
Yeah, that's
does
me.
that effect sound like any spells you know?
Does it? Or is it just fucking rancid vibes?
No, do you know what? Roll Arcana for me.
Okay. Ooh, this is a pretty die. Okay, 21.
21. So 21 is good. You have definitely heard of like magical effects that are basically there to, and it really fits in with this kind of like shall we say MO that is Lady Helene's speciality, which appears to be mental manipulation, mind magic. She seems to have, if she is indeed in charge of this island, which it would seem that she is, she seems to have enchanted it to well, certainly it seems to at this point be enchanted to make people leave it alone.
It's people repellent.
It's like, yeah, it kind of gives off a bad vibe, and perhaps some people would be able to overcome that feeling, and then their curiosity would most likely be met with a different approach.
Murder.
Maybe murder, yes. But yes. And I do think that something you would have noticed, actually, because you're very observant, in that brief flash that you got of this island, is on these rocks, there are the occasional sort of boat or ship that's kind of draped over these like jagged rocks, where perhaps some have got a little too curious, but not in a way that has benefited them at all.
so basically maybe approach from the far side of the island and not a frontal assault,
approach
as it
from
were.
the water.
The rocks were definitely all around the island, but there might be a path through them.
I'm getting Wind Waker Forbidden Fortress vibes.
There we go. Yeah, this might have to be honestly just a drive-by drop-off.
Yeah, it might be cannonball. Might be a cannonball situation, and by cannonball I mean like when humans.
We're just gonna cannonball Caillou over.
Oh my god. Yeah, this may be a situation where we might just have to go for a swim.
Any of us can fly.
I can't fly. I can get myself into a position where I can fly, but that's all I can do. I don't have any other. I know Onyx, you can carry somebody. I know there's water walking or swimming available. It's like I could use my cloak to swim. I could get somebody else a flyer swim speed.
Eva points at her seashell necklace.
Or we could ask Koros.
That's also an option.
I wonder if there's an underwater way in.
That's a good question.
And if anyone would know about secret ways in, it would be you, Eva, or Koros. But let's get there first. Let's worry about that once we get there.
All right. So I mean, yes, so Cascade would definitely take you up on your offer to help her with the map. She would probably ask Callista to be there as well for her navigator tools proficiency, just because it's not just about the cartography. It's like the three of you working together will probably be the dream team, to be honest. In terms of that, was there anything that we're kind of approaching the end of the day after this conversation, and you get to kind of the afternoon. Was there anything that anyone wanted to do now that the aftermath of almost all drowning has kind of died a little, and people are kind of going back to work, and they're in good spirits again, relatively good spirits?
I would like to check my pocket for my earring and see if it's there or not.
Doesn't seem to be.
Cool.
But you haven't seen Suri all day.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't expect to. I assume she's just hiding. Ruby!
You probably know where she is. You didn't see her get out of the boat. I think probably you, and being quite perceptive, probably Eva and Callista would know that she was in there as well, because they're quite perceptive. But
I'll just grab like a biscuit from Cedric and just leave it on the side of the rowboat and walk away.
All right.
And hope that the birds don't get it first.
They most likely will.
Yeah.
That gull was watching the boat closely. That actually really scared me for a sec. I was like, what is that? Oh my god. All right. And you kind of, in that case, you kind of head towards the evening. So you still don't see, there's still no sign of Suri, apart from as you will kind of settle down for some food towards the evening. She does kind of emerge, and she heads down, speaks briefly with Cedric. She still looks a bit shaken, and there's this thing where she keeps looking at you, Estrella, but then every time you look at her, she pointedly looks away, like she's really like,
I'm not looking.
Like she's like, I'm not looking at you. Yeah, like it's very like, but you've definitely captured her curiosity, if anything. But she's making a real point of not being near you right now. And she kind of grabs some food. She briefly catches your eye, Callista, and just gives a little nod, and then like walks out and starts to head back towards her boat again, her little hidey hole. This is her version of the crow's nest. Like, this is her little.
It's adorable. It's adorable.
It's her little space.
This from that little nod, does Callista get the feeling that she's in a better mood and would want to talk or be willing to talk?
Yeah, you get the feeling that she's in a better mood. Like, she seems to have calmed down. I think you and Eva probably would have seen. I kind of joked about it last session, but you probably would have seen Estrella having a conversation
Mhm.
with her, or certainly with the boat that she's in.
I talked to the boat.
And figuring it was most likely to do with, hey, so about that like paralysis spell I had to put on you, like hope that wasn't too much of a bummer, like it's something along those lines. But
it was a heartfelt apology.
and given the way that Estrella briskly walked away, it didn't really go well. But yeah, she seems to be a little more relaxed. She's a little jumpy. Like at some point, someone laughs loudly behind her, and you just visibly notice like the when a cat sees a cucumber.
Oh my god!
Like in its space, and the way that they like that, and then she just starts like swearing at herself because she's like,
it's like the Studio Ghibli like hair standing on end.
Yeah, basically. But she seems like she's trying to reintegrate herself in her own little Surrey way, back into the fold, as it were.
Okay, well, Callista, she takes that as an invitation, whether or not it actually was, because as insightful as she still is not the best sometimes at reading social cues. So she's going to follow her and just kind of go up to as she approaches the rowboat where Suri is, she's just going to send a message to her in her head and say, hey, Suri, this is Callista. I was wondering if at some point you would like to maybe help me learn how to pick pockets a little bit better. I don't know if you noticed before. I am trying, and I mean, Jericho said I wasn't ready, but I feel like I'm ready.
You, as you talk in her head, you do hear this like slight thud, and then like ow, where clearly she was not expecting a voice in her head, and she might have just hit her head in surprise. And then as you finish your appeal for her help, she opens his tongue out, and she just says, holy shit, you can talk in people's heads?
Yeah, I didn't want to startle you, so I figured this would be
you didn't want to startle me?
I'm sorry, is your head okay? And Callista's gonna reach out.
There's a slight bruise forming.
Yeah, Callista will cast Cure Wounds on her.
What the fuck is it about you people? I don't know, Callista, do other people look weirded out when you talk in their heads?
And Callista really like, I never really thought about that. I mean, it's just something, maybe, yeah, I guess I can see how that might be a little bit weird. I'm sorry, but I mean, would you be willing to teach me?
And she just looks at you, and then she goes, Callista, tell me honestly, am I giving out some kind of warm, cuddly, friendly vibe at all? Am I? Do I look like an approachable person?
But you look really like you know how to do all sorts of cool rogue stuff, and I don't have a teacher, and I tried to pick Hector's pocket, and it really.
What about your Kenku friend? What, she can't pick pockets? She can pick pockets.
I don't know, Eva. I like Eva. She's really cool. She's kind of scares me a little bit. I can't. You know how I can talk to you in your head? I can't talk to her in her head, and it kind of scares me a little bit. So maybe I should ask her. I never thought about that actually. I'm sorry to bother you.
It sounds like you should. Okay, right. Ask me the question again. You want me to teach? Yeah, I did say I would teach you. Yeah,
that would be really great.
All right. Well, lesson 1. And she pulls out from her pocket this little earring. And it's kind of shaped, it's shaped like a sort of shark. And she kind of like looks at it and twizzles it around. And she says, before you can pick pockets, you need to know how to put things back in pockets. What if you're caught?
I never
You
thought
need to
of
make
that.
them look stupid. Right? So, this is Astrea's. You knew that, right?
Would I know that? Had I seen that on Estrella before?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I nicked it from her last night.
You lying?
Join
You
the-
lying little shit.
This is not even going to incite that. Oh, okay. So you.
Well, actually, you know what? You have a good insight, but she has a pretty good deception score. So I would be like, there are some people that I would be like, nah, you can easily read that, but she would probably roll and probably do quite well.
Because Callista does have, I think, my passive is 21. Yeah.
And she looks at you and she goes, so you didn't know Estrella had this?
No, I've never seen it before.
So you don't know what it is?
I mean, it looks like an earring. But no, I don't know any. I don't know any specific significance to it. It's very pretty.
Well, see if you can get this back to her without her noticing.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
And Callista's just very proud. She's been given this mission to do rogue stuff, and she's very excited about it. Don't think she's going to do it right now, but she's going to bide her time and find a good time to try to slip it into Estrella's pocket. Actually,
and as you're kind of like looking at it excitedly and kind of preparing to leave, she goes, lesson 2, know thy enemy. Or your friends. Strikes me you don't know much about them at all.
Well, I know that they have my back. I mean, we've been on the road and we fought battles. But
believe me when I tell you, Callista, sometimes that's not enough.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to make sure that I get this, and she's not going to know a thing, and I'll report back.
And she smiles but shrugs and then just settles back into her boat.
The relevant passive perception is 17, by the way.
I think.
Well, I feel like this happened while everyone was downstairs eating food, so it was really only Callista and.
Oh no, I mean to slip the earring in.
Oh, good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Well, I think Callista would try to slip the earring in as they're getting ready to go to bed, since they're sharing a cabin. She would, as they're getting into bed and saying their good nights, she'd try to kind of slip it into Estrella's cloak.
All right. Okay. So that is gonna be sleight of hand. How's that looking for you?
I believe in Lulu. I believe in Callista. I believe in the dice mostly.
So do I, and I'm sure I'm gonna roll low.
Gonna try just as we're kind of settling off to go to bed. Go for it.
She rolled actually really well for what I expected, but probably not good enough for Estrella not to notice. She rolled a 15.
17 is passive perception.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So you do a really good job of trying to bide your time and wait for the right moment. And you pretty much almost get it. Like you see like this open pocket in kind of like in Estrella's in her dress, like just on the side, and you're like, that's the perfect pocket and that's the one I'm aiming for. And then you spend a really inordinate amount of time trying to get yourself in position to do that perfectly, and you really do almost get it. It just happens that Estrella is just a little above the norm in terms of noticing things happening around her. And Estrella, you feel this very imperceptible tug at your pocket that just takes you back to your childhood for a moment. And your eyes just flick down to where Callista is sitting next to you. and you see she's holding this earring and trying to sneak it, and she's doing like, fair play to her, she's doing a good job. You would know that this is a pretty decent attempt at what she's trying to do, clearly. But yeah, you know exactly what she's holding and you know exactly what she's trying to do.
Okay. So I think what happens is like Callista has fucking wild passive insight. You can kind of see Estrella kind of like looks down, does a double take, kind of jumps a little bit, and you can see just like a brief flash of something in between panic and and like just a hint of anger, and then it fades. Where did you get that?
Suri she's training me how to pick pockets, and she said the first thing I needed to learn was how to put things back into people's pockets in case I get caught. It would be there, and she gave me this earring. She said that she stole it off of you, and that I should, for my first lesson, I should try to put it back in your pockets without anyone noticing. I actually thought I was doing a fairly good job for my second attempt.
No, you were.
Sorry.
No. She said she stole it off me?
That's what she said. I'm sorry you seem upset about it.
No. You just startled me for a moment. Thank you for returning it. Did she say anything else about it?
She said that I don't really know the people that I'm with, and that I should know my enemy and also know my friends. And I'm not really sure what she means by that. I mean, I know you have to know your enemy. I mean, you're fighting him, but you know, you're my friend, and of course I know you. So I don't quite know what she meant by that. I think she's just maybe suspicious of everybody.
You just see a little flash of what might be guilt.
Yeah, because you're insightful, Callista. Like, I feel like anything that is on Estrella's face that she doesn't attempt to deceive you with, like, you will see. So
Estrella's trying to mask some of like the more intense emotions, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But this like random little earring is definitely bringing out something more than just a piece of jewelry. And she just kind of looks at it for a long time. She flips it upside down, and you can see as the when the earring is upside down, it actually it's styled to look like a shark right side up, but a sparrow upside down. And she kind of tucks it back into her pocket, and she says, "Thank you for returning it."
Of course, and you know you are my friend, and you can, if you ever need to tell me anything, I'm here for you, and I know who you are. I may not have known you very long, but I know you, and I trust you.
Oh, okay. Okay, there goes my heart. Estrella does this weird thing where she kind of like looks at you very oddly. Thank you, Callista. It takes a lot. I know it takes a lot for most of us to trust. But I'm finding that it becomes much easier with all of you.
I'm glad. I mean, I finally feel like I have a family in all of you.
I know
Even
the feeling.
Eva.
Even Eva. I know the feeling. And
Wow.
I will tell you the story of this earring. Not today. But I will tell you the story of it.
Whenever you're ready.
Good night, Callista.
Good night, Estrella.
And like before bed, I'm going to briefly kind of well, obviously, like we're staying up a little bit later because map shit. I want to real quick grab the glorb and send out a quick like, we have a location. Sorry, or we're approaching the Isles. We have a location. Kind of.
Just very like serious tone, like we're approaching the Isles. Over.
No, it'll sound very solemn, but like, no, just solemn, really.
Okay. So you wait and you don't receive an immediate response. Then you hear I see. And like there's an obvious like he's surprised. So he says, I see. That was efficient, but I guess I shouldn't expect any less from you.
The greatest compliment is calling her efficient. It's great.
We will talk tomorrow then. And that is the end of his response to you.
Cool.
I think you would be able to detect there's like a sort of undercurrent of like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of
like
dread,
I was
imagine.
expecting to be able to forget about this for like and have this slowly, and it's just like, no, we're almost there.
Well, I'd rather let him know.
Okay.
I'd rather let him know ahead of time rather than just messaging him and being like, "Hey, I got your dad."
Yeah. So like, just keeping him updated. No, that makes sense. Like he's grateful for that, but it's surprising that you've for him. He obviously can't see your activities, but for him it feels like, oh, like we'll be back in 3 days. Like that's kind of the vibes he's getting, and he's very like, oh shit. So yeah, he just kind of sounds like that, and that was him like closing off the conversation. Like that was him saying, like, I don't want to talk anymore. So all right, we will end the session there then, because we are at, again, looked at the time and I was like, oh wow, we still got an hour to fill.
Nope.
And then realized no. So oh god, this time zoning is messing with my head, it's messing with my mind, man. Let's
might be the last one for us.
I would love for that to
be yeah.
Please.
Well, actually, I think the clocks go back for us. Is it next week or the week after? I think it's next week. the clocks change, so it might go back to being the usual time for me. I need to confirm that. Yeah, it would be. So all right, so let's go around then and introduce ourselves and our socials and all of our various amazing ventures that we are part of. Let's start with Kumi.
Hello, I'm Kumi. You can find me at Kumi Curiosities on Instagram or Twitter. I also stream on the Pigeon Killers. This weekend, we have like this really exciting D&Dames one shop, which is called Magical Mayhem, where we're essentially going to be playing anime-esque magical girls and fight against our school. So that's going to be fun. I'm really excited for that. But yeah, that's for me. And oh yeah, this is Caillou. Little baby Caillou. Hello.
All right, let's move on to Lindsay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay. You can find me online at Chunky Chickadee, with the last E being a 1. I'm got some big cosplay plans going on for this year, so I'm going to start being a little more active on my Instagram, posting all the goodies that I'm working on in preparation for potentially doing the prelims for World Cosplay Summit this year. So follow me on there and see what I'm up to. And this is my seagull. And yes, that is all.
That's the most important thing. The gull. All right, next up is Lulu.
Oh, hi, I'm Lulu. I've been playing Callista, the party's cleric who really wants to be a rogue and not a cleric. You can find me at Lulu in WA. Right now, this is really the only thing I'm doing because work is just crazy. But hopefully sometime soon I will have more free time and start making art again. Because I do have some plans for some scenes. I just haven't had a chance to do anything but work and sleep. So
we wish you luck in all your artistic endeavors and finding time to do stuff again. I can completely relate to that. Joan.
I had to unmute. Sorry. I'm Joan, also known as the Rogue Senna, also known as Future Dr. Jones. You can find me on most social medias as the Rogue Senna. And this is also the only AP I'm in right now. We recently released another episode of Halfling University over on 3 Black Halflings, so go check that out. And I will be talking about ShilCon, aka the Wizards of the Coast Content Creator Summit. I'm Commander Shilbird, and this is my favorite cloud on the Citadel. Yeah, so if you were curious about my opinion of the discourse, there you go. Yeah, that's it for me.
Last but not least, Jen.
Hello, hi, that's me. I'm Jen. I have been your friendly local Estrella. I can be found on Twitter at JenBurb. I am not awake this week because I have definitely worked like 20 hours of OT, so I don't remember what I'm in. A lot of my games are private games, but I mostly just hang out here on Girls Run These Worlds as the # director of IT and also just professional trope nerd. Yeah, that's me.
Ooh, if we could possibly find someone to raid while I introduce myself, I don't really have that much to say, so get on it quickly. But I am Kat. I am also known as the Law Mistress. It's a self-appointed title, so I don't really know why I'm saying it like everyone just calls me that in life. They don't. But you will find me at Twitter. Law Mistress 93. I like to write stories and play games, and the only other thing that I'm in currently is every other Thursday I'm in an AP of Call of Cthulhu, where I play a very dramatic actress who is having to face zombies right now, and it's not really what she signed up for, but here we are. I feel like I say that every week. Still not what she signed up for. Nothing's changed on that front. Other than that, I'm writing and I'm moving house soon. So, very excited to have my own space. Very excited about that indeed. All right, so we are going to be reading High Rollers. High Rollers. Why am I singing it? High Rollers. We're going to be reading. And thank you all so much for joining us. It was really good having so many people here, having a pre-active chat. We really enjoy and appreciate all the support. Been a bit of a quiet one this week. Maybe that will change next week. I just thought we've had some really dramatic episodes leading up to this point, so maybe we need to simmer down and take stock. So cool. See you all next week. Cheerio. Bye bye. God, that was so British. Cheerio.